Hi everyone and welcome. I am Malika Pathak and today we will be discussing about requirement gathering and use case scenarios. Primarily done during stakeholder meetings, requirement gathering is the exploratory process of researching and documenting project requirements. Shockingly, more than 70% of failed projects miss the mark due to a lack of requirements gathering. That's no a small number. Deadlines, scope, cost overrun without proper requirements identification at the outset. All of those elements will be affected. Design issues to the product development will be impacted, and developmental delays will occur. Ultimately, your project won't be set up for optimal success at its faces an overrun budget. Today, in this video, we will be talking about creating use case scenarios based on scenarios given by the coordinator, creating requirement gathering sheet based on multiple scenarios. Let's begin. What is requirement gathering? Requirement gathering is an essential part of any project and project management. Understanding fully what a project will deliver is critical to its success. Requirement gathering sounds like common sense, but surprisingly, it's an area that is given far too little attention. Many projects start with the barest headline list of requirements, only to find later the customer's needs have not been adequately understood. One way to avoid this problem is by producing a statement of requirements or a list of deliverables. What techniques can be used for requirement gathering? Number 1, interviews. These are an invaluable tool at the beginning of the process for getting background information on the business problems and understanding a current world perspective of what the system being proposed needs to do. You need to make sure that your interviews cover a diverse cross-section of different stakeholders so that the requirements are not skewed towards one particular function or area. Second is questionnaires. One of the challenges with interviews is that you will only get the information that the person is consciously aware of. Sometimes there are latent requirements and features that are better obtained through questionnaires. By using carefully chosen, probing questions based on the information captured in prior interviews, you can drill down on specific areas that the stakeholders don't know are important but can be critical to the eventual design of the system. Third is user observation. One of the best ways to determine the features of a system that does not result in paving the cow path, that is, building a slightly improved version of the current state, is to observe users actually performing their daily task and ideally recording the actions and activities that take place. By understanding the holistic context of how they perform the tasks, you can write requirements that will reinvent the processes rather than just automating them and will ensure that usability is paramount. Fourth is workshops. Once you have the broad set of potential requirements defined, you will need to reconcile divergent opinions and contrasting views to ensure that the system will meet the needs of all users and not just the most vocal group. Brainstorming. This is a powerful activity which can be performed either in the context of a workshop or on its own. By considering different parts of the system and considering what-if scenarios or blue sky ideas, you can break out of the context of the current state and consider visionary ideas for the future. Use cases and scenarios. Once you have the high-level functional requirements defined, it is useful to develop different use cases and scenarios that can be used to validate the functionality in different situations and to discover any special exception or boundary cases that need to be considered. Seventh, prototyping. There is a truth to the saying, I don't know what I want, but I know that I don't want that. Often stakeholders won't have a clear idea about what the requirements are, but if you put together several ideas or prototypes of what the future could be, they will know which parts they like. You can then synthesize the different favored parts of the prototypes to reverse engineer the requirements. Different ways of capturing the requirement. Number 1 is through Word doc. Second, it could be spreadsheets. Third, via presentation. Fourth, via modeling diagram. UML is a standard language for specifying, visualizing, constructing, and documenting the artifacts of software systems. OMG is continuously making efforts to create a truly industry standard. UML stands for Unified Modeling Language and is a pictorial language used to make software blueprints. It can be described as a general-purpose visual modeling language to visualize, specify, construct, and document software systems. Although UML is generally used to model software systems, it is not limited within this boundary. it is also used to model non-software systems as well. For example, the process flow in a manufacturing unit and so on. Use cases. A use case represents the actions that are required to enable or abandon a goal. A use case has multiple paths that can be taken by any user at any one time. A use case scenario is a single path through the use case. This article provides an example of use case and some diagrams to help visualize the concept. Importance of use cases. First, they hold functional requirements in an easy to read and tracking format. They represent the goal of an interaction between an actor and the system. They are multi-level. One use case can use or extend the functionality of another. For example, use case is money withdrawal. Purpose: to withdraw money from an ATM. Overview. Step 1. The use case starts when the customer inserts his card into the system. Step 2. The system requests the user PIN. Step 3. The system validates the PIN. Step 4. If the validation is succeeded, the customer can choose the withdrawal option, else alternative validation failure will be executed. Step 5. The customer enters the amount of the cash withdrawal. Step 6. The system checks the amount of cash in the user's account and its credit limit. Step 7. If the withdrawal amount is in the range, the system will dispense the cash and print withdrawal receipt, else alternative amount exceeded is executed. Points to keep in mind while writing the use cases. Number 1. Make each step show an action. A use case is a story. Stories that don't move forward are boring and are hard to read. So each step in the use case should show some progress towards the eventual goal. While each step is unique, you really only write 5 kinds of steps. The actor provides information. The actor makes a choice. The system provides information. The system asks for information. The system does some work. Each step should show what the actor does or gets. Making each step an action will keep your use case lively and readable. Second, keep it between 6 and 10 steps. When a use case is 6 to 10 steps long, your reader can absorb and understand it in a minute or 2. If it's much longer, it will be harder to understand. It's commonly said that we humans can only keep 5 to 9 items in our short-term memory. If your use case is much longer than 10 steps, reconsider the goal of the use case. Ask yourself how the actor completes that goal and see if you can break it in 2. If a use case is much shorter than 6 steps, it's probably too fine-grained and the reader won't see the bigger picture. You'll end up with a large number of small use cases, which is harder to manage. Third is avoid if statements. When writing a step that describes your system checking something, you might be tempted to use an if statement. If the applicant's credit score is valid, the system presents a confirmation number. Do not do this. You'll probably need an else statement to go along with that if statement. The system you're working on is probably complex, so you won't be able to capture all of its complexities with a single if statement. You might need to nest another if statement inside of that first one. Before you know it, you'll be trying to code your system with a use case. That won't work. Instead, write validation steps in the affirmative. Use verbs like validate and verify. Number 4 is forget the UI. For now, when writing use case steps, exclude details about button clicks, text boxes, checkboxes, and so on. Don't get hung up on describing the user interface. This will slow you down and have you updating your use case for every minor UI tweak. A screen mockup or wireframe is a great place to describe a user interface. A use case's main success scenario is not. Number 5. Put formulas and rules elsewhere. When writing use case steps, you'll encounter business rules, formulas, and other constraints that govern the behavior of your system. It is important to capture these things but not write in the step of a use case. There are a few reasons for this. These rules, formulas, and constraints probably apply to more than one use case step. You'll want to define and maintain these in just one place. At some point, you'll want to see a list of these things in their own. A vision is generally the desired view of the future, while scenarios represent a range of possible views of the future. As a discipline, scenario planning is often described as one approach to strategic planning. Project managers and business analysts have traditionally struggled not only with how to define ambiguous requirements, but also with how to keep requirements from changing after those initial requirements have been defined. One way to alleviate this problem is to provide a structure that facilitates the requirements decisions between customers and technical staff and results in work products that are useful not only to designers and developers but also to the business customers. Use cases provide this structure and accommodate changes as more is known throughout the project lifecycle. This was all about requirement gathering and use case scenarios. Thank you for watching this video.